up. Whoa, we're gonna rise up. Whoa, we're gonna rise up. Whoa, not gonna give up. Whoa, we're gonna rise up. Rise up, yeah. Oh, we're gonna rise up.
Well, hey guys, welcome to Rise Up, hosted by me, Steve Collum. I'm so glad you're here because today we got an amazing interview with Fiona Forman. She's actually from the little island off the big island in Australia. So if you think about Australia being an island in the Pacific, there's another little island called Tasmania. And she's from there, and she's based out of there, and she has an amazing story. She's a lot of tragedy and a lot of things have happened in her life, but she didn't give up the dream. And she can show you that through her steps and through her story, you can see and you can be inspired that whatever you're going through, whatever you're going through, or whatever tragedy you're going through, you can rise through it. And there is a good story on the other side, and you can still reach your dreams. She made a few little steps towards her dreams, which I highly recommend, which you'll hear more about in the interview. And don't give up on your dreams, and just push through and go through your situation, go through your tragedies, one step at a time. And what an amazing story. So thank you so much, Fiona, for coming in. And I also before we start, I want to let you guys know that this episode is sponsored by my Patreon account. The beginning of this year, me and my wife gave birth to my son. He was stillborn. And through that, I really wanted to, through that tragedy, I really wanted to give him a voice that he could be a part of something. So I thought, I'm going to create a podcast, an inspiring, motivational podcast that'll inspire people and hopefully change people. And so some part of Asher was able to do this. And so so before we dive in, please head over to my Patreon account, which is patreon.com/Steve Collum, and consider being a partner, consider sponsoring one of these shows yourself, and every bit helps. And I couldn't do it without you guys. So let's go ahead and dive into this amazing interview with Fiona.
So who am I to say why? Sure, it's hard, it was horrible, it was awful, it was hard and challenging, and so it was devastating. But I guess does that answer the question? I don't know. Yeah, that's how I sort of got there.
I think that's absolutely amazing. And I think that's because for me, when Asher, for anybody who's listening who's not sure what I'm talking about, but at the beginning of this year, Asher Kai, my son, was stillborn, and I was angry. I was just angry, and I was just like, you had so many questions. And then after, a few weeks, I realized that I can't keep doing that, and I can't be upset. I got to accept it. I got to move on. And I want to be better for Asher. Because he came and was with us, I want to be better, and I don't want to be worse. And I know that's just going to be worse, and so, but I just had to, and still early days for me, 4 months ago. And it's like, but yeah, I think it's just amazing how you've come out and you're just so positive, and you're just, you just see it from you see it from an eagle's point of view, or from a further, bigger picture, and so I think that's amazing. And I think anyone who's going through something, even now, a devastation or a traumatic thing, I think there's, I would say it's okay to just be however you are. And I would love to be like where Fiona's at, but that's part of grief, I guess.
That's right. I mean, it is 10 years for me. It's 10 years. Actually, it was 10 years this month that since we lost John. And it takes, I wouldn't say, I don't know if you never get over it. Yeah. You move through it, and you perceive it differently as time goes on. and it does. It takes lots of time, and you have to work through the feelings, and anger is one of them, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think it's too, isn't it so cool that you couldn't get pregnant for a long time, and then you and then you did. You had two beautiful kids, and it's like,
yeah, I know. And that was John's dream too. Like he wanted to have kids earlier than I did, so it was, that was his heart's desire. And so he had that opportunity. And I think also, I think of the miscarriages and the IVF failures, and I do believe he's got them with him in heaven. Like he's got his little family.
Yep, absolutely. He's looking after him up there. Yep.
I know. It's like, that's pretty cool. That's cool. Yeah.
And how did you moving forward? How did you move forward through that, and how did you pick up the pieces, knowing that okay, you've got your family around you, but then at some point you have to go back home, or at some point, they have to go back home, or
well, we what happened then? I obviously stayed in Brisbane for a month, I think, and my friends hung around for a while, and I was with my family for a while. But then, I had to come back to Tassie. Well, when I say had to, it was my choice. We had no family in Tassie, apart from John has a sister who lives here. And so we're very independent in Tassie, but we are part of a big church, part of a great church that my friend Peter runs. And people did say to me, would you move back to Queensland to be with your mum and dad? It's like, you know what? My network is here in Tassie. I've got friends. I've got everything I know. The kids, Josh had just started school. It didn't make sense to rip our life away from Tasmania, go back to Queensland where it was just mum and dad and my sister. And, really that would put a bit more pressure on them. So I didn't even think twice about staying where I was. And effectively I ended up with two support networks, because I could just, jump on a plane and fly home to mum and dad every now and then. But at home, it was incredible. I didn't make a meal for 12 months.
Wow, that's great.
My church family
community, that's awesome.
I know, it was absolutely incredible. I came home and the house was stocked with food, and there was flowers, and the kids had presents, and the outpouring of love from particularly my church community was incredible. And I had people dropping meals off. I had a very dear friend of mine who was already helping me because I've had my sore back and whatnot. She'd come in once a week to make a meal and fold some washing. She kept doing that, obviously, and so did many other people. So I was very well supported with my church and the school community as well. And you just put one foot after the other. And I mean, it's hard to say with you, Steve, because I know you've lost your beautiful boy. But for me, I had those two kids that I had to live for, and so you just do it. and I had another lady from the church who lost her husband recently, and she was 10 years older than me, so we'd catch up for coffee once a week and just chat. Just day by day by day, things grew and reformed into the new normal.
So at what point did you get to a place where you're like, okay, this is the lowest, this is the bottom, it can only go up from here, it's and what does my life what does my life look like going forward from this point? Or is it never like that? Is it always just that 1 foot forward? I don't know.
No, I don't think I can think of a lower point than the actual event or the time, that first couple of months. My dad came back to Tassie and stayed with me for a couple of months. Then I turned 40 a couple of months later, and then everyone left, and it was like, okay, here we go. Pick it up. So there wasn't really a desperately low point, other than it was definitely the event that was the turning point for life is going to be completely different from here.
You couldn't just let it swallow you up whole, because you got two little kids that they're so dependent on you. You have to live for them. You have to be alive for them. You have to do stuff for them. Yeah.
That's right. The thought crosses your mind, do I want to be here? But there's no choice, because there's no choice. They need me, and they deserve to have as much of a stable and loving upbringing as I can provide. And I'll tell you what, my daughter Mickey, she's actually just at production rehearsals now, I think, doing musical theatre, and she's such a joy. She made me smile every single day. So hilarious, and just total joy. And she was young enough not to really know what was going on. My son was a little bit different, and because he was on there, and it's like, oh, I killed daddy. No, it's like, so we've had to do a fair bit of work with him. But Mickey, she's just never a day goes by that you don't get a smile. Don't smile because of her. So so blessed. I just feel really blessed to have those two gorgeous kids. But and you just put your one foot in front of the other, one foot after the other. Keep going. And then I guess things changed a couple of years later. The same friends that were there with us on the day, it must have been actually before that, another friend of mine said to me, so about 2 years later, another friend said to me, so would you get married again? And I'm like, oh, I haven't really thought. I probably would, but it's not like I'd go online dating or anything. And my friend said, why not? It's just a way of meeting people. Okay, I'll put that thought aside. Anyway, and then about 6 months later, I was with the good family friends of ours, and I was just watching my kids hanging out with Brent, the ER nurse guy, and they just craved that father figure, and it felt like God dropped something in my heart. It's like, you know what, because I'd always said to myself, we will be fine. I know we'll be fine, whether there's three of us or for the rest of our life or what. I feel confident that we'll be fine. And but God dropped this thing, and it's like, there's someone else, there's a relationship coming for you sometime. It's like, oh, okay, righto. So I actually sat down and had an opportunity to sit and pray and think and talk with God about that. And I wrote a list, and it's not like this is what I want list, it was like, this is at the end, it was like God saying to me, this is how you'll recognize your new husband. Really? And there was things like, wants to be a loving father to my kids, mentors people and enjoys mentoring people and being mentored. It was good at what he does, but isn't obsessed about it. Good with money, but not obsessed about it. These sort of values that lined up with me. And I even wrote down at the end, I thought, surely I don't need to write this. Tall and gives good hugs. Like, no. So I was really, as God saying, this is how you'll recognize him. Okay, so fold that up and put it in your pocket, and righto, whatever. Keep going, one foot after the other. Anyway, you would not believe it. Well, I do believe it. Probably 18 months after that, I suddenly felt, I think it's time. And I made myself an online dating profile and on a Christian website. And within 3 weeks, I was talking to Trev. And within 3 weeks of that, we were on the phone. And within 3 weeks of that, he flew down from Sydney to meet me. And that was a done deal. It was done. And guess what? That list, every single thing, it was a picture of Trev. Incredible.
Wow.
Incredible.
That is actually really cool, because I think that's, you hear that when you're, like a teenager or whatever, you're dating, you're like, yeah, get your list, or, have these things that, and you end up getting some, even if it's a mental list, or, what you like and what you don't like. And so it's just funny because, you can relate that to any business project or it's a list of what do you want, and you're reverse engineering. That's exactly what you did. This is the person, but you don't know where they are, but this is the person. Here's the list. Here's what they do and who they are. And it's the same with business. It's like, okay, if I want to do this, my dream, or if I want to have that, okay, So what does that look like? And you write that list out. And I just think that's such a powerful thing, and it works. You're saying right now, I like that you could recognize. Say that again one more time. You said it was a list.
Yeah,
You could recognize.
it's not. Yeah, it was this. This is how you'll recognize the guy that I've got for you. That's what I felt God was saying to me. And it's just, you're right. It's the same in business. Like if you write a list of this is what I want to, this is where I'm heading, and then is this for me? Oh, it's on the list. Is this for me? Oh, it's not on the list. Actually, it doesn't fit in the yeah. And it's not. It's a little bit different with the relationship. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
But absolutely, I think it's I think that's a huge key. I think because a lot of people say, oh, I want to just, I want to be a millionaire, or I want to do this dream, whatever it is, I want to do this, or have this little business. But I think it's very important to put a list down, because you will see some stuff. And of course, you can always change the list as you go, and you can adapt and stuff. But if something over here is so left field, and it's like an opportunity in front of you, and it's left field from what's on your list, you can look back and be like, it's pretty far away. Do I want to compromise, or is that something that or it could be something that's like, that's actually in between the list. That's in between things. I think that could fit. That's what I could see that, and so
yeah. Crazy, hey?
Absolutely. So it's really cool. And so I guess you guys are married, and so your kids are they got a dad now, or a father figure.
Yeah. And Trev hasn't got any of his own kids. He's a family. I said he's a family man without kids, so he just loves my kids. They're our kids, and it's just incredible that. And get this, the guy. This was not on the list. Trev. What he does is build guitar amps, like from scratch. Like, he designs them, and the electronics. He's an electronics technician, and he builds all the cabinetry and all the. You've seen it. I've shown you, Steve. There's some of the beautiful work he does, and so he and I complement each other in so many ways. Just amazing. And so we actually met. He flew down to meet me the same week as, during this time also, I had a project, and my project was nothing to do with music. It was building a house. So when John passed away, and I bought a block of land near where we were going to buy, we had a house. We're trying to buy a house at the time, but it's this beautiful block of land. And so I'd been designing a house, which is a great project for someone who's had something to think about and work on, and spent 3 years designing it, and it included at the best end a studio. I thought, this is the time. If there's ever a chance to have a studio, it would be when I build a house. So what I'm going to do is design it in there, put it in, and if it happens, it happens. I knew I had my little stash of money, and so so Trev flew down to meet me on the 5th of May, and that same week we actually dug the foundations for the house. So wow. It's very what's the word? Everything aligned. And it was like, we just knew he said within 3 months he'd moved down, and another 3 months we got married. We basically were married in 6 months, and the house was underway, and the plan was that we wouldn't fit the studio out. We're just going to leave it stud walls, because we didn't know how our budget would go. I knew. So by this time I had $12,000 in my $50 a week. And it's like, well, that's my contingency money. If I need extra money to finish the house, it's got to go there. That's got to happen. But I was fortunate in that I didn't need it. The contingency money was still there at the end of the build. So we had a lovely new house. We had these couple of rooms here with just stud walls, nothing, just stud walls, and I had $12,000 in my pocket. And so after meeting, marrying, building a house, raising a couple of kids, we sort of finally landed in the house and recovered for a few months.
Yeah,
and then so that was April of 2018, and then at the end of 2018, Trev said, "You've got that money there. The studio is bare bones. Let's do it." What? Really? It was, for me, it's like, it was a monumental unachievable thing. It's like, just how on earth? Like, I had the plans. I'd done lots of research with my engineering brain and figured out how to. I had splayed walls, so there's only one right angle in each room, so it sounds beautiful. And I figured out I need 2 layers of fire check and some quiet wave in between, and acoustic installation and double walls, and did the research, and so had the plans, had the money, and just needed the will, really.
Yeah.
And so despite both Trevor and I suffer from chronic fatigue and a few things, but we just said, this is our project, we're going to do it. And we looked around and tried to hire some people, and no plasterer would look at us, because who wants to hang fire check on odd angles and cut all those angles?
It's not a standard job. That's right.
Not standard at all.
Wasn't that absolutely amazing? Fiona is awesome. What an amazing story. Please, if this has helped at all, please go over to my Patreon account, patreon.com/Steve Collum, and consider becoming a partner so we can do more of these interviews, so we can interview more amazing people and hear their stories, and hopefully that you will be inspired through this to reach your dreams. So hopefully you got a lot out of it, and I will see you in the next one.
Whoa, we're gonna rise up. Whoa, not gonna give up. Whoa, we're gonna